Hi, welcome to Grisdale Arts YouTube channel. Welcome back if you're a returning viewer. I'm Zoe, I'm part of a public house alongside Abby Hallsborough, Joe Hartley and Tom Phillipson. We've been put together by Grisdale to lead a project which is a recipient of White Gold Festival's International Prize 2020. We're designing and developing products that we intend to be useful, desirable and easy to make. Joe and Tom have developed a kit which we will be sending out to makers. You'll see that kit in the upcoming demonstration. And we're hoping that will ease a bit with the limitations of access to materials. Abby has been filming and editing some really high quality tutorials that we will be releasing to makers, as well as a kit alongside more informal Zoom make-alongs which you'll see coming up from Joe and Tom. Today they are making some tiles and a couple of Christmas decoration type pieces. So yeah, I will leave yous there. I'll be in the live chat, so if you have any questions, just drop me a line there. Enjoy.
So yeah, they'll get this through the post.
That's what a nice thing to receive, Tom.
Yeah, and then all you need is that and some clay.
Yeah.
So here's some clay. This is just really standard school book stuff. Works really well. For some reason, this is like Irish, sponsored by St. Patrick. What should we make first, Joe?
Maybe it's just maybe just the first one is a tile, just a simple, just because what it does you're not making it concave or convex. You just do it's a flat thing that is textured.
Okay.
Do you think?
The screw head up 6 mil is all right for that?
I guess so. Yeah, nice thin tile, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. How much clay do we need?
Let me grab my. Sorry, my clay's out in the.
Might also be wise, we could send out people with an actual pottery wire, or I'll make some for cutting the clay. But you don't have to use a wire to cut the clay. You could use a knife. I'm just cutting a bit off to work with. So that's just a kind of lump, square lump. Joe's gone to find some clay. Have you got some clay, Joe?
Yeah, sorry, it was still down in the studio. Okay.
I've just torn off, well, wired off a kind of lump, a squarish lump.
Okay. Squarish lump.
Yeah. So are you making it into like a square shape that will be the tile shape?
I guess so. Yeah. Yeah. Should we? Sorry, I'm not being very good. Should I? I'm not talking about what I'm doing. Sorry. So.
Why are you slapping it, Joe?
I don't know. Sorry, I've lost my my way a little bit. Sorry, Tom.
Let's stop saying sorry.
Right.
I'm doing the same. I'm just like slapping it down.
Yeah. Right. So, right. What I'm doing, I'm squaring off my clay so that the edges are defined. I'm defining my edges of the object I'm going to make.
Yeah. So if you keep kind of hitting it down and then keep revolving it,
yeah,
you get a feel for it. Okay, squarish lump.
So works slightly better with drier clay, this, doesn't it, Tom? You think?
Making the tiles.
I guess the tiles, no, it doesn't. It can be any, can't it?
In fact, when it comes straight out of the bag and it's quite wet, it actually, you get quite a nicer definition from the clay.
Okay.
The wire going through it, but it's harder to deal with.
Okay.
But,
so swings and roundabouts, you mean then?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got our clay, square block, wire and a screw in the disc. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we're going to drop this over the top, Tom.
Yeah. So central point. You can just do it by eye because it's a circle. You can stand above it and look down upon it.
You can drop it on. Okay. I found
looking down, you can see when it's in the center.
a way I found useful to do it sometimes, Tom, was like marking the center of the block with my finger.
That's a good idea.
And then like sort of almost like you can visualize, you can see it dropping onto that center point. That worked quite well for me.
Then do you just place it on or squash it on a little bit?
The weight of the block should ease it over the screw head.
Yeah. Okay. And I've got this wire coming out flat to the floor. I'm right-handed, so I've got it on my right.
Okay, so you've got yours on your... Are you holding it with your left hand, Tom?
Holding the wire with my right hand.
Yeah. Are you left-handed, did you say?
No.
Right-handed.
Right-handed.
Okay.
Okay. So what are we trying to aim for? Just a tile?
Yeah, I guess the first one is to experience the process and just like to understand the kind of the move, what's happening, you know, what's physically happening in front of you. So I guess a good one is just
You go first then.
okay. So I'm keeping the wire, holding the wire taut with my right hand, and then with my left hand, I'm going to spin I keep calling it, yours is a disc, mine's a square. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to wiggle my arm up and down like this, really simply for this first one, just zigzag. And as I can see, the wire is cutting through the clay in a zigzag manner.
Okay, I'll try that. So I'm going to lift my wire up. So on the outside, you can see probably just above the screw head in the middle. So I know the wire's running through that piece of clay. And then like Joe, just go up. You don't have to be amazingly, what's the word?
Yeah,
accurate.
You can't get it wrong.
So we just keep going around.
And then back to the beginning. It's quite important, isn't it, Tom? That you come
down so you can see that. So I'm going right back to the point where we started from. And then bring it back down the existing line that it came up through, the wire. And then we should be able to lift the top off, which is that bit.
Great. So it's like instant texture.
Yeah. And then on the board is your tile. It's slightly dish-like this, which is good.
Yeah.
So it could be a dish or a tile.
Mine has a concave to it as well, Tom.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is slightly, if you just don't be tempted to touch the pattern bit in the middle. So now we're just going to touch it by the outside edges by gently easing it. And see that's loose now. So we kind of tease apart the bit where the wire went through and kind of try and lift the whole thing up.
Yeah.
Like so. So it's quite wobbly at the moment, but that will dry hard. And because it's so wet, you can literally just squeeze it back together.
Okay.
Where it's
used.
that foot went through. using the outside edges, try not to touch. There, so that's done.
Great.
There's a hole in the middle, which for tiles we thought we could use that to put it on a wall. But if you wanted a flat tile, you could actually just fill that hole. To fill that hole really simply, you're just going to use whatever I've got lying around. You get a little bit of clay, lob it into the middle, a bit too much. Small amount.
That, Tom,
in the middle.
is that your
With a dowel, just squash it in like so.
Tom, is that your new wire, the electrical wire?
Yeah.
It's great, isn't it?
Usually I'm quite wild with my like shaking going around it to get really wild patterns, but you don't really need to on that one.
Brilliant.
So we could go from that to do the next one, Joe, which is where you go up slightly higher with the wire. I kept that one quite low, but we could go up slightly higher, and that will give us a more of a dished shape.
Okay.
So you see, fairly flat.
Yeah.
But what we're trying to do next is like send it up a bit more.
Cool.
So more kind of flower like, and we've been making these as like soap dishes because they have the central draining hole. We've always found it quite annoying that soap dishes, your soap will sit in it and then it'll get water in and it becomes like hideous and like, what's the word? Kind of like soup.
Congeal. Yeah, like this vile.
Yeah. So, and you can, from this one, you can just keep going.
Yeah.
So we put that back on the wire, on the screw, and you just locate it in the hole that's already there. Straight back on it. Keep your wire out to the side. And then gently put it in place.
It's fair to say, Tom, that you try and always aim for keep your entry and exit point at the same point along the block of clay.
Yeah.
So don't be tempted. It makes it simpler, doesn't it? If you keep the point where you're always going in with the wire and out with the wire at the same point.
Yeah, and it's easier to do that in between the corners. Not if you do it on a corner, it makes things a bit trickier.
Yeah.
As well. Okay. So kind of in the middle, and it's easier to hide. So now I've put that back on. I've not pressed it down much, and then I'm going to just go up a little bit higher.
Yeah.
This one.
Tom, unlike the first one, I can see on yours that you've got, I couldn't see shadow underneath the clay on the first one, but I can see shadow under it now.
Yeah. So with this one, I'm keeping this wire cut away from the bottom wire cut around about 8 millimeters, 10 millimeters. You can go down to 5, doesn't really matter, but don't hit it. So for this one, I'll just be a bit more crazy. See my fingers just really, really wobbling. This is where you like don't think, just like kind of go where it wants to go. And then slow down when you come back to that point and get it to meet exactly where it came in, like so. And then bring it down out the way. And then we're going to lift the top section off. And gently ease that up. This is very wet clay, so it's quite difficult, but it'll get easier. But again, I'm not touching the top surface, and I'm only just touching the bottom, because the bottom will be kind of part of the dish as well. So you can see the bottom. And then around and the top, that's your soap dish. Or you can just, because this is so wet, you can just squeeze it back together. But I have prepared some slip, just to make sure, which is just the same clay with a little bit of water added to it. Kind of, what's the consistency, Joe, would you say?
I'd say almost like
cream. Whipped cream. Whipped cream.
Yeah, whipped cream. You don't want it liquid. You don't want to be able to pour it.
Right. Okay. So it should hold its form.
Yeah, it should be. It's sometimes referred to as slurry. It's a good word as well. Slurry.
Okay. So I'm just going to dab a bit of that on gently. You don't need much. And then squeeze it back together again. Trying only to touch the edges. It's impossible to do it just with the edges. You kind of have to support the bottom, but that's okay. You're not going to see that as much. So there's the first dish.
Very
And then
nice.
dry. Cool. And then you really can just keep going with the same one.
If you've
So you
got,
put that,
oh, sorry, Tom. If
so
you
yeah, you
happen to
put that back on. Go on, Joe.
I was going to say, if you happen to have a boring wire, 'cause I know there are people out there with boring wires.
Everyone's got boring wires.
You can like,
But hopefully, if everyone's got the kit, I'll make the kit with this really exciting wire.
yeah. But if you can't wait for the kit to arrive, you can kink the wire. If you bend it, and twist it in a way, it kind of puts all the kinks in it, which offer a more unusual pattern when you do it.
Yeah, so I'd been doing that with a different one. It was just with a pair of pliers. You just kind of kink the wire like so, all the way along. So once you've done one, the first one will probably be rubbish, and then you can go on and just keep doing it basically, and you'll get faster. There, soap dish. Was that 10 seconds? Okay, so what else have we done?
So
The soap dish. You can do it round as well. If you started with a lump of clay that was circular, you could go with like round dishes. Here's an example of like some round ones that we did. There's a round one.
There's triangular ones.
Yeah, triangular one. There's another round one. There's a triangular one.
Triangular one.
Yeah, and not actually just soap dishes. That's a bit kind of confined. Pistachios, Christmas things. So here are some more square ones.
That glaze is good, Tom. What's that?
That's the one I didn't like. It's really brown.
Oh, right. I quite like it. I thought it was good.
It's got some nice, interesting bits in it, but it's a bit brown.
I did some bigger dishes, Tom, which I don't know what you would. I
like the blue eggs.
A lot of the stuff we end up. They're kind of dishes for a party, aren't they? Really.
Yeah, a really cool party.
Yeah,
how did you fill the middle of that one, Joe?
So, do you know what? Just the same as you did. So a ball of clay, and then I just pressed down with. Actually, it was just a wooden tool, like a wooden spoon, just a round bit. I just literally pushed the bead in. But I rather than trying to hide the fact that I'd done it, I thought it was quite cool.
Yeah. Did you close that off with the wire with some slip, or was it just squeezed back together?
It's all with just the wetness of the clay, so it's quite wet clay again. Yeah, and I thought because it was a big one, I felt like it might come apart in the kiln because I hadn't, but it didn't. It didn't come apart. But something I quite liked about these big ones, Tom, I quite like because I've got a couple. I put one on the table and I've been having it like. I really like it as a dip bowl, but I like that you can do that. So almost have it as like a reflective bowl.
Yeah.
And it sits really comfortable on the table. So that's for an even cooler party.
Yeah. I mean, if people wanted, they could just like make a sculpture.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, we're all saying it needs to be
the bird bath.
Yeah.
They do. There's a way. I did make a bird feeder, and the birds have started using it, Joe.
Oh, they've got used to it, have they?
It's really cool, but only blue tits. The bigger things like sparrows and starlings, they can't handle it. They fall off it. So what?
Can they not get in through the hole?
No. Trying to find some bits.
That was with just that kink that I did. Quite cool.
Yeah. So because they got the hole in the middle, when they were fired, I just put two together like so, with a string through the both of them, and then put bird food in between them. And the top keeps the water off the bird seed. And obviously, if water was getting it, drains through the other hole, and the birds kind of just hang on. It's quite cool.
I like it. I like it. It's almost like the bird feed is like just an excuse to hang something cool in the garden.
Yeah. So that, I mean, people can adapt it however they feel fit, really. The main focus is the fact that the wire gives these cool patterns.
Yeah, it's a process,
Kind of,
isn't it?
yeah, and it's an instant thing. It's an instant, what's the word? Can't think.
Gratification.
Instant win.
Yeah, instant win.
Yeah. Instant gratification. Quick win.
Tom, I know
so you get quite.
You were doing some quite cool stuff with the, because you get that really nice edge to it, and you were polishing it, weren't you? Which I think worked well. And then something that I've done on these ones is with a bit like a slip, like Tom was talking about before, a wetter slip that I've put cobalt oxide in. So when these are a little bit firmer, they're probably too wet now. But when they're firmer, with some slip with cobalt oxide in, a bit more liquid than the slurry, with a big sloppy brush, you can just run the brush along the face in quite a haphazard way, really. You don't have to be careful about it, which is what's good about it. But actually, because it's a flat face, it's only the face that picks up the blue and catches the blue. So you really can, you just go, but you get.
And is cobalt oxide something you can readily buy? Can you type cobalt oxide into the internet and it will go, yes?
Yeah, if you go cobalt oxide, you'll be able to buy some for sure, definitely.
Okay.
And if you want blue, of course, if you want green, you could use copper oxide. And of course, iron oxides will give you all of the muddy colours if you want it to be muddy coloured.
Brown.
And then, of course, there are actually, obviously, I'm using more oxides there, but actually a more convenient way if you're just starting on this, it might be to buy, you can buy these slips ready-made if you wanted to go down that route. I wouldn't advise you to make it. I'd just buy it. You can buy these slips ready-made, and they work better than the ones that are just designed to work. If you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what else have we got?
Angel wings.
Angel wings. Angel wing.
Angel wing.
And then we'll do stars and then Christmas trees.
Great, nice. So on to Christmas. Tom, I quite like you put me onto this, Tom, that when you say you've got your pattern, if you start pushing the outsides, you can distort it in quite an unusual way, which I thought was quite cool. You started doing that, and I've started doing it as well. So you kind of like, you were using like, like sticks to kind of like squeeze the outside. It kind of distorts it, doesn't it? And like almost it ripples your already existing cool pattern more.
Okay, so what are they? Book matched angel wings.
Yeah, so I'm preparing a rectangle. So just like before, using the ply top, I'm patting down my clay to create more of a cuboid, like a rectangular block, like like a block of cheddar. A block of cheddar. Do you know like one of the big ones?
Yeah, mature cheddar.
Yeah.
Cathedral City.
Yeah, something like that, or Pilgrim's Choice, whichever your one is. That was a very close one. I nearly just dropped Elsa's computer. That could be in the what do they call it? The
doghouse.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got my block of cheese. It's actually slightly thicker, mine.
That's okay though. It's totally forgiving. I mean, I'm suggesting a rectangle just because that's the way I've been doing it. But you could do lots of different versions of it. So I'm gonna lift my just to show you where I put this. So I've got my disc that Tom sent me.
Square disc.
I'm going to take my rectangle. I'm going to put a mark. So imagine there's a mark there. Okay, there.
What, a third?
Yeah, say a third of the way down, about. And on the edge, it's really important that it's on the edge. And I'm going to bring that in and put it next to the screw there. So the screw is just to the side.
All right.
You know, the tolerances in this are huge. And then, because it's there, I'm gonna go around like we did before with the wire. I'm holding it up, but you can do it on the table. And what's quite good, I'm going to use the back of my nail. I'm going to hold the wire. I'm going to use the back of my nail as what did you call it, Tom? A depth.
Resist. A stop.
Depth stop. So that I'm using the back of my nail as a consistent place to bounce as I go around. So. Then all the way around, and then I haven't worked out better. I didn't act on the. Do you know the discussion we had, Tom, about doing it better, so you're not doing this. So then I'm trimming off this bit here to give my other wing. So then, sorry, I don't think I've done a very good example of that.
I think it works well if the the screw is set proud a bit more than I had it. So if the screw is set kind of about 15 millimeters up.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Standard kind of.
Let's try another one. Yeah, so about 15 mil.
Yeah.
I think they work well also because I tried it square, a bit more elongated, like that.
Yeah. Angel wings. So it's a bit like book matching when you split a piece of wood, like as a decorative thing.
Nice,
So
yeah.
we thought that we could make them into various things. Well, they work as Christmas decorations, but we're working on other products.
Yeah, so like possibly we're using them as panels, producing some panels for some larger pieces.
Yeah, or things, everyday things for the home. So it could be look, bookends. We could make an addition to put something on it to make a pair of bookends.
Nice.
Such-like things.
These ones have worked.
A bookmark.
A bookmark.
That was a joke, but you never know.
Those ones worked a little bit better.
Yeah. Actually works better with your wire than mine. Mine's a bit too busy.
Okay, right, yeah. This actually, it actually looks like feathers.
Yeah, so that would make quite a good owl as well.
Yeah, it definitely would. Yeah, so it transcends Christmas, do you mean?
Yeah. Okay. That's good.
Yeah. So yeah, obviously, yeah, it becomes a tile very easily as well, doesn't it? Like a lot of things.
Yeah. So next year I'm going to make it's like a shooting star or a snowflake or just a Christmas star.
Okay.
And for that, I'm just going to use any old bit of clay. I'll do it off the thing so you can see how easy it is. In fact, I'll do it like this. So if you haven't got a wire, pull a lump of clay off, squash it a little bit. And literally I'm just going to slam it down in the middle of that and then using my hand.
Yeah.
So for this, my screw head is what, 6 millimeters up,
Yeah.
and I'm just squashing this roughly down. This is quite a lot of clay, so this is going to make a big star. You can use a small amount. So I'm doing it kind of to roughly double the size. So this will be kind of 12, 15 mil thick. And then I do this quite fast. So I'll do one fast and then do one slow. Perhaps you do one slow, Joe.
Okay.
Oh, Joe. So, and then I bring the wire up, and then I'm going to work like in and out really quickly. As you see it go around, I'll bring that in a bit. And turn, this revolves, so I'm going to turn that at the same time. Back to the same point, and then wire off over there. And again, this is good because you don't actually need to touch. And then you can just kind of gently peel that back.
Nice.
I'm going to flop it out onto my hand, but normally I just flop it out onto the table and leave it to dry.
Right.
Again, not touching it, so just...
Never touch the surface. Just like a slow one, did you say, Tom? Do you think?
You what?
Should I do a slow one, did you say?
Yeah. It takes a bit of practice to get to doing it fast and moving the board at the same time. And then you put it down on a board. And another thing we're going to send out in the kit is a bamboo kind of skewer stick, really useful for lots of things that we make. And literally you just push that through the clay. And that means you can get a wire through it to hang it up, or a nail through, or a screw later on. Give it a wiggle if you want it to be a wider hole.
Cool.
Like so.
Nice.
Okay.
I think I've gone too thick on mine. It's quite...
No, it still works. It's cool. Yeah, it's quite thick. The more thick you get, the more height you get.
Yeah.
In the middle. And that's what gave me the idea to do the Christmas tree, which is what we're going to do next.
Ah, nice. Because I was going to say it's quite mountainous, which I guess a mountain is on its way to a Christmas tree.
And this is kind of the point of what me and Joe do. It's kind of you do one thing, and you do it slightly wrong or slightly different from the way you were doing it, and then that leads you on to think of another idea for making something. Is that fair to say, Joe? We do that quite a lot in what we do.
Absolutely, yeah. That like you're almost urging, like when you're doing something, you kind of like urging. You put like always like changing something slightly a little bit every time, pushing it more in one direction. I think, yeah, definitely. And then you can
so Christmas tree.
What's that?
You what, Joe?
Say that again, Tom.
I said Christmas tree.
We can recycle the offcuts of the stars, can't we?
Yeah, I can keep going. So the bit I took off the back, I just squash it up again, and then literally plonk that back down again. Do that, and then round like so. That was a bit of a rough one. Another one. Just keep going, throw it down, squash it together again, make another one. As a product that you could sell, this is probably quite a good one because they're really, really quick to make. So with all faffing around, you could like easy make 2 in a minute. How much are stoneware stars in London shops, Joe?
£47.
That's not bad for half a minute.
Yeah.
That's what we're kind of aiming for. Okay, so from that, we said from that came the Christmas tree, and that's why in the kit we have the extra disc with the line in, the cut line, and the slight recess. The recess is to locate over the screw that's protruding at the bottom, and the wire go along that groove, and that one will sit down on top of that, and the whole thing will move around. The reason for that is that you'll get a point. This will become apparent when you see what I'm doing. So again, that's there. Keep it away from the cut line though. So I'm just going to lay it over to that side. And then again, it's going to be quite rough. Just torn a bit of clay off. make it into a kind of bally shape. With a slight point, so it's conical, but it can be really kind of pretty rough like that. And then I'm putting the point bit down on top of that wire, and then just give it a little tap, and it'll just sit there. Now this end, this here is going to be the bottom of the Christmas tree decoration, which are these. So it's going to be that way up.
Yeah.
We need to put this hole in first. That just means you're using less clay and cutting down drying times and costs. And is it true, the risk of it cracking, Joe, and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and
So-
the weight of it hanging on the branch of a tree as well.
Yes.
Like it would yank down a tree. But yeah, you're right. All of those things. Yeah. Yeah, it can. A solid block of clay can sometimes, not always, you can get away with it, obviously, because bricks are solid. But a solid block of clay can sometimes more likely to explode in the kiln.
Okay. So I pressed it on there. It's just kind of a lump. Wires out to the side. What I'm going to do is just kind of judge where the screw is in the center. You can use that visually using the circle.
Yeah.
And just poke my finger in up to like kind of the first knuckle. When you get used to it, you'll be able to put your finger in further once you realize what's happening inside. I've done a few mistakes where I've cut through it and into where the hole is. So to start with, I just advise doing a small little hole. You can revolve the clay around. And you just get a slight recess, domed recess there. I took that off. You wouldn't normally take that off. I'll put it back on. And then it's the same principle. I'll do this slowly because just to show you, I'm just going up and then just background. You can be very random. Just so I wouldn't go further down than that though. Are you doing one, Joe?
Well, yeah, I'm going to do one, but I haven't got the secondary piece of equipment, so I'm going to.
Okay. Try it anyway, because
Yeah.
who knows?
Yeah, I thought I'd just like follow it as best I can with the.
Yeah. So I'm just creating these little wiggles. Can you see?
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of all the way around. It's actually quite relaxing doing it slowly. It's usually quite manic. And then we're back to where we started. So again, you kind of hit it. But then with this one, you don't go back down the line. You go over it across like that. So that's your first line. Then you get to your line, and then you go over it that way.
Why is that, Tom?
So that you don't get this weird strand thing.
Right.
It'll become apparent. So that's you done. And then if you hold the wire, you can lift that free.
Yeah.
So inside there is your Christmas tree.
Yeah.
And what I'd normally do is plonk this down on a surface, and then doing that crossover thing, Joe, also enables you to pull that piece out first.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you just kind of peel, again, not touching the actual work inside.
Yeah.
You can stick your finger in it.
Cool.
So there's your Christmas tree.
Very nice. I went through, Tom.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know whether that's because of the board. No, it shouldn't be, should it? I just made a hash of it. I like the way it swoops round, Tom.
Sorry?
I like the way it kind of swoops round. It's quite, like Dr. Zeus.
Yeah.
kind of like
They
a.
look good when you have a set of them. Then I use the skewer again, just find the center and literally just push it through. And that will be your Christmas tree. Obviously, you take the stick out.
Very cool.
And then you leave it to dry.
So we've been spray painting a lot of this stuff, haven't we, Tom? Like, which
Yeah.
illustrates that you don't have to adhere to sort of orthodox ceramic processes, you know. Like, for
So, I mean, we need to fire it really, though.
yeah,
Well,
cool. Yeah,
it would be really fragile. You could just put that on your tree when it was dry, and it would stay there until someone knocked it off, and then it would turn to dust. Or you could fire it. So we fired these to like just biscuit fired,
yeah.
and then you spray them with like gold paint or any sort of paint, whatever you want. They're yours.
Yeah, if you could paint it or whatever. Yeah.
But I suppose if you were doing it as a product, you could move on to that and get into the glazing process and glaze them and sell them. I suppose it would be more of a commercial thing if they were glazed, maybe.
Yeah, it gives it more longevity, doesn't it? And makes it more food safe and quite a few other different things, doesn't it?
Yeah, 'cause we're always eating food off our Christmas decorations.
yeah. We've been trying
I use a spoon.
yeah, we've been trying some raw glazing, haven't we, Tom? I know we've only sort of like tested it a little bit, but trying to remove the middle firing of bisque away so that we put glaze on. Like this for example, is it went on to just raw clay rather than firing it to bisque and then putting the glaze on, so it reduces the firing. So if anybody wants, you know, some of these simple shapes that you do, you can raw glaze, and it makes the whole process simpler. It means you're taking less trips to the kiln, and it means things, brings it down. But we'll probably do another film on that, won't we? I reckon.
Yeah, I think so. What else did we do with a wire? Do you remember how to make the cup we made, Joe? That seems ages ago now.
Yeah,
you know,
there was a few
cut.
And I distinctly remember there was a bit, I quite liked the bit where you wet the wood and it comes away. Remember that bit?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I can't.
Can we do that now?
Yeah, I'm trying to think how. There were two parts, so we cut away. Basically, it's a more complex version of the.
Oh, yeah. You need a longer screw, don't you?
Yeah, you need a long screw. And I think you need. We had like like a jig shaped. A circle you follow around.
Okay. Maybe we'll do like an advanced kit if people wanted it, or once people have the kit, and then we can do more videos of other products to add to it. That would be quite a nice way to go.
I think, Tom, that cut can use, the already exist that kit you've got in front of you as a starter, and I think you could almost have like, I like the idea that you have like bolt-ons to kind of like, like Mega Drive to kind of get it. You kind of add to it to do more stuff.
Yeah. To just do another tree. I'll see how fast you can do it. I might go through this one. This is where I really, really try and shake a lot. So I'm shaking like from side to side as I'm going down and up. And down. Whoops. Funny.